So you principally, as to my understanding, do composition for U2 Kanwoo and more specifically, at least mostly, for video games.
Yeah.
And how many, I mean, was JC3, Just Cause 3, the first project that you worked on?
Yes.
So that's six years now or so, I guess?
Yeah, the first notes of music I wrote for Just Cause 3 were in June 2012.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow,
So
8
you were
years.
all right. So then 8 years, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really incredible process with
Yeah.
Just Cause 3, and being part of your studio at that time for me was really something.
Yeah.
I was asked, so if you had asked me 10 years ago what I thought about video game composition, I would be like, I mean, I love video games. I would say my love for video games supersedes my ability to play them,
Right.
which is an issue for me, that like I'm just not very good at video games. I would like to be better at them, but
Right.
like I find even with all the practicing that I can do, like I just don't have whatever that I missed, like a critical thing. And I think
Right.
it was Mario 64. I think I didn't have N64. I grew up with Nintendo.
Yeah.
I had Genesis, but when N64 came out, I kind of like doubled down on Nintendo, and I actually started buying a lot of like Nintendo games at that time were like 14 cents
Yeah.
at Funko-Land. So
Yeah.
I would go to Funko-Land and I'd just buy a ton of like NES games
Yeah.
and just play those.
Yeah.
But I never, so like my spatial
Yeah, the third dimension.
awareness, and I remember the first time I played through JC2 while I was trying to play JC3, which is the first time I played any
Yeah.
new video game at that time. I was like aware of them, but I didn't have an Xbox 360. I played some Mario Kart and GameCube, never played Halo, none of that. Never played any first-person shooters. First time I was playing Just Cause 2 and trying to get the grapple hook parachute thing, I was like, and I used to make fun of my mom when she was playing Mario Brothers, because when she would jump, she would do this.
That's what I do too.
And I was playing Just Cause 2, and I'm staring at the screen like this. I would start like moving around. I'm like, oh my God, like I can't even actually get my body to stay still. I'm so bad at the
Yeah.
spatializing of
Yeah.
this game. I have gotten better,
Yeah.
but I'm still not good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a long way of saying, in 2010, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, oh, that's an interesting idea. I love video games, but it never occurred to me. And I had been working in theater and film. I came up doing classical music. I went to school for classical music. And I wrote a lot of songs at the end of that time, but I'd also written for orchestra and things like that. The songs kind of led me into this theater world. I also at the time was dating somebody in musical theater, so I had like a connection to that world. So I briefly was doing musical theater. I also had a connection to the film world and was doing like narrative film. And through that, got to meet people like the audio director at Avalanche, New York, Jason, who asked me to demo on Just Cause 2.
Yeah.
And Just Cause 3.
Yeah.
And that was the start of my experience with video games. And I ended up contributing some music to Just Cause 3, and then asked to demo again for Just Cause 4, which I thankfully was able to get, and that was like one of the best experiences of my life as a composer, was getting to write all this music. And people seemed to were pushing me to write the stuff that I wanted to be writing. Like there was an alignment of my creative voice in the first time in a long time with an outside project, and that has then carried on into Second Extinction and projects after that. So it's been awesome being part of video games.
Yeah.
And the thing that clicked for me with video games was it's a combination of all these different practices in music that I have been doing, and I kind of had never figured out where things landed for me. Like there's so many different things I was doing, and I didn't know exactly where I fit into all those things. And I had my classical background, so I knew how to write for orchestra and love writing for orchestra. I love writing chamber music. I love those instruments. I love Western European instruments. I love the idea of being technically good at your instrument. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I was in school for that, I was also playing in all these jam bands and funk bands, and really enjoyed music that was directly visceral. That you didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to sit there and enjoy it. It was in you and through you, and you know, the people on stage were kind of like in communion with people in the audience, and there's this whole like energy thing happening that doesn't happen in classical music. At the same time, I've always loved like storytelling from film, and the idea of narrative and theater, obviously, as well, with the narrative stuff. And all those things kind of come together in video games, where you're using the instrumentation you want to use, and a lot of it draws from the cinematic orchestral heritage, or at least a lot of like AAA games do. And then at the same time, you're incorporating storytelling and dramatic stuff. And at the same time as that, you're doing all this non-linear thinking about music, which comes to me through the jam and funk band world, where we're on stage looping something.
Right.
Until somebody, you know, the lead singer is basically the audio engine, where he's like, or she, in some cases, I was in bands, you know, it doesn't matter who the lead singer is, but like whoever it is getting information from the audience to getting information from the band, and is triggering the next section of music at the time when it's supposed to happen, based on that energy, which is kind of the same thing that the audio engine in a video game is doing. So it's that sort of like clicked for me in a way that was like a really fun like brain thing. It was just like, man, like we can do all these non-linear things along with the classical heritage, the theater heritage, the film heritage, the storytelling. All those things can kind of come together in one space, and that was really, really fun for video games. So I look forward to continuing to write more video game scores as we go, and it's cool being in New York, where the video game scene is not huge but is growing, and Avalanche is doing cool stuff, and more people are moving in. So.
Yeah.